Isn't God good today? I'm drinking Gold Peak. I got the camera right on me. Gold Peak, I love your tea. I am the only person in the South who drinks unsweet tea. So I got an idea. I could be your mouth of the South. All right. So if y'all are watching this, I've been drinking this. All right. I got you. My message today is going to be a little bit different than normal. I like to get up here and make, sometimes I like to make statements that are a little hard to hear because I think it's challenging. But today I got something that I think is real easy to hear. When God told me this, I didn't have any problems trying to figure out a way to reflect it to the people. It just came right from God's mouth and right onto my paper here because it's such an easy message to hear. If you go, Nellie, bring up the scripture. If you go to the chapters right here, Matthew 25, 14 through 30, and I'll read along on my paper, you can read along up there. This is a parable of three servants. And in many ways, as I read this story, I find it similar to where we are as people. So we're one of the three servants here. Again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities. He then left on his trip. This kind of reminds me already of when Jesus came down, he amassed riches and wealth in his spirit. You see, he didn't have bags of silver to give, but he had the blessings of living a perfect life to give. And when he was crucified and rose on the 3rd day and returned to the right hand of God, he left something to proportion to the people. And all of those gifts and power and blessings that he earned now live within us. So we'll continue through the rest of the story. The servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. The servant with 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they had used his money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, "Master, you gave me 5 bags to invest, and I have earned 5 more." The master was full of praise. "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities." Remember this part of the scripture. It's going to be very important. The servant who had received the 2 bags of silver came forward and said, "Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest. I have earned 2 more." The master said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I'll give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." Then the servant with the 1 bag of silver came and said, "Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here is your money back." But the master replied, "You wicked and lazy servant, if you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it." Then he ordered, "Take the money from this servant and give it to the one with 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have in an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. Now throw this useless servant into the outer darkness where there will be weeping and the gnashing of teeth." I want to go back to something important here that I think is overlooked. He says, take the money from this servant and give it to the one with 10 bags of silver. He says that as if the servant owned those bags of silver. So there's no implication that the master returned and took it all back. There's every implication that the master gave the servant what he earned. It was a test from the very beginning to see which servant was worthy of more. And I'm here to tell you today what you have within you, your money, your finance, your spiritual gifts, your financial blessings, your gift of love and heart, all the things that are within you that make you you are God's test to see if you're ready for more. So I have a little thing here, made it very simple. There's 2 steps to this process. God gives and you use. You see, the servant who buried away his money, he's like a lot of us. We feel like we don't have a lot, so we set on it. And we don't want to risk it because if we lose what little we have, what do we have now? So we bury it into the ground and we set on it. Well, the master is going to come back one day. And if you've done nothing but hide your gift, be prepared to lose it. He didn't just say, you wicked servant. He took what little he had. And I'm here to tell you today that God can provide you with things. In each and every one of us, there is a gift. There is a talent. And with talents, I find there are two versions of a talent. You have external talents. My wife can sing. My father's a public speaker. Buddy can do all of the above and everything else if you ask him. So we have those external gifts, the gifts that you can see, that other people know you have, and they're undeniable. And then there are internal gifts. There are some people who are strong-willed. There are some people who have an unbreakable faith, have an unyielding love for other people, and just have the ability to feel what others feel. So you have an external and internal talent, and I think all of us have at least one of the above. And so you have to find out from God what he has given you. And for some of us, it's money. And having the ability to have the financial ways to bless people. And for others, we have to bless people with our external or internal gifts. It doesn't matter what your gift is. What matters is what you do with it. You see, the servant with 5 bags got the most. And the servant with 2 bags didn't get as much. But I find nowhere in this story where he was bitter about it. He just went and earned more with it. He just went and earned more. And I get the sense that the servant who had the least felt a little bitter that he had the least. Because why else would he not risk it? I bet you as he was digging the hole and buried it in the ground, he said, if I had 4 extra bags, I could do something with this. And that sounds like a lot of people today. Well, if I could sing, I could reach people. Well, if I had the money to, I could do all these great things. I'm telling you right now, God provides you with the skills you need to make an impact today. And the secret is he also provides you with the money you need to make an impact today. So if you look in your bank account and there's only $17 in it, well, guess what? That $17 is all you need to make an impact. And I'm not telling you to go spend all the money on God, but what I'm telling you is he provides you with what you need at that exact moment to do what you need to do. We all have a destiny to fulfill. Some people, some pastors even don't like the idea of destiny because there's something predetermined in it. I love the idea of destiny. I think God has set out a plan for each and every one of us. Now, the difference between my spot of destiny and the world spot is, for me, destiny isn't something that is going to be fulfilled. It's something you have to fulfill. It's a target for you to reach. So each and every one of us have a destiny, a destination even. So he gives you what you need to get there. You have the ability, the financial ability, the mental ability, the talent ability to be who you need to be. You see, God created you with a purpose, and he gave you what to do. He knows. You can hear it in your head. Some of you think, I know I should talk to that person. I know that annoying person at work that's always whining. I know they need my love. I know they need me to introduce them to God. And God has given that to you because that's a purpose. That's a purpose for you. And he gave you exactly what you need to fulfill that purpose. Just like he gave Jesus all he needed to fulfill that purpose. Jesus was at the right hand of God. I imagine the throne he sat across was diamond encrusted and gold plated. And the air around him probably had flakes of money in it. And he came down to earth, and when he got here, he didn't have any money. Because what he had to do for people didn't require money. So maybe what you have to do for people doesn't require money. Maybe it doesn't require you to be able to sing or publicly speak. It's what God gave you. So get this in your spirit. God's given each and every one of us something. We are all made within the image of God. And I find myself believing that there is not a talentless God up there. So if we're all created in his image, each and every one of us has to have a talent, has to have an ability, has to have something extraordinary within us. So even when it doesn't feel like it, God has equipped you to be what you need to be. I know sometimes it's hard because a lot of us, especially in 2018, a lot of us are at the bottom rung of life. We're just trying to scrape by. We're right there on the cusp of just making it check by check. And it feels like we don't have anything because the world is telling us we don't. And that's the trick of the devil. If you don't have enough to live a comfortable life, you must not have been given anything. See, that's a lie. You see, Jesus in the Bible, he didn't have a set home. He went from place to place and set up tents and set up shacks and laid with people on the ground. You see, he didn't have all the things that we try to have today. He didn't go to an apartment and sign a contract. He didn't get a car and sign a lease to it. He just went on his feet and walked. And I'll tell you right now, I've never been, but I hear the Middle East is quite hot. So he didn't have AC because that wasn't a thing back then. So some of us here in Texas are complaining about the fact that our AC doesn't work as well as it should. Can you imagine walking around in robes on your bare feet in the middle of the sand desert? Let me give you time to think about that. Some of us put shoes on our feet to go take the trash out because the concrete's a little too hot. And here's Jesus being given exactly what he needed. And remember, God had everything. Jesus came down with nothing. So if you find yourself feeling like you've got nothing, you're in good company. You're in real good company, because that's the company of Jesus Christ. So now we get into the second part of the sermon, which is you use. You see, God gives you a purpose, but it can't become your purpose unless you use your abilities and talents purposefully. You have to be able to say to yourself, yes, I can sing. I'm going to bless somebody with that. Yes, I have a little bit extra in the bank. I'm going to bless somebody with that. Yes, I've got a strong will and a good head on my shoulders. I'm going to teach somebody something. You have to use your talents every day, because your gifts aren't for you. Let me say that again. Your gifts aren't for you. As much as you want them to be, they're not for your glory. They're for the benefit and glory of the kingdom of God. Even gifts you don't think are. There are athletes today, there are students right now who have the ability to play football, basketball, baseball, soccer on a professional level. And God has given them that so they have the ability to have a voice. What happens when someone wins the Super Bowl? And they come up and they grab and they say, what do you want to say? The first thing they say is something about their mama. And many of them say something about Jesus. That's because they have the ability to. You see, somebody says, we can't have somebody come here and throw a football. Tom Brady can't walk through the door and throw a football through the wall. I don't think that would bring anybody to God. But what he can do is win the Super Bowl over and over and over again, and then step in front of a crowd of people and say, I give my glory to God. There are kids who are looking up to athletes like that, and they see this opportunity and they say, I want to be exactly like that athlete. And they have the opportunity to speak with their power and their voice. So what I'm telling you is, even though you might not find a gift that you can use in this building, that's good, because the best gifts are used out there. I would sacrifice all I had if all I had were gifts I could use in this room. But I thank God he blessed me with gifts I can use outside of these four walls, because those are the ones that really matter. Because what's in these walls is what's in these walls. I can't reach very many people. We have a good crowd here today, but I don't want to get to God and know that all the people I reach are just in this building. I want a crowd of people saying, hey, you're that guy that was real nice to me. I was on the street and you're the guy that blessed me. You see, we need to remind ourselves that we have to use what we're given. If you don't use the gifts of God, you're not going to have them to be very well practiced. See, you have to practice your gifts. Any athlete can tell you, I can tell you, I spent many years playing baseball. It's been quite a bit since I've been there. I may still have the mechanics. Still might have some of the athletic ability, but if I go out and I throw the ball right now, it's going to be a little rusty. It's going to take me a few tries to keep going and going and going until I get back into full perfection of where I was. And my family can tell you, I played the sport endlessly. Year after year, talent was risen and dropped, and talent dropped and risen. And it was always about me practicing my gift. Practice, 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 practice. When we got home after practice, my dad would have me practice some more. When we got home from a game, my dad would tell me what went on in the game and help me see what was going wrong. And when I did something good, Papa over here would reach through the fence and give me $1. And so it inspired me to do good things, because there was good reward. And what I'm getting at here is, despite 15 years of doing something so endlessly, if I go out there and try right now, I'm not going to hit the glove the right way. I'm not going to remember, my feet might remember where they belong. And Alex can attest to this. You might remember where you belong, but you don't know how to use where you are. You've got to remind yourself where you need to be. So don't let rust get on your spiritual gifts. See, it's okay for me not to remember how to play baseball all the right way, but it's never okay for you to forget how to be who you're supposed to be. So that's why it's important for you to use everything you've got. If you can sing, sing as loud as you can. Yeah, come on now. My wife already does that. But there are others who have a gift and they're worried about using them, and stage fright is a thing, and that's okay. We can find ways to help you get over that. I'm not saying you got to go stand in front of a crowd of 400 people and sing. But if you have somebody who you know could use your gift, somebody who's sick in the hospital, I tell you right now, if you were to sit there and sing Amazing Grace with them, it would heal them. I'm not saying they get up and rise from the hospital bed and be healed, but there'd be a spiritual healing that starts that day. And when the spirit is healed, the body has to follow. And when the mind is healed, the body has to follow. So see, there's something right there on a one-on-one basis. You take a gift and you can use it. So we need to remind ourselves that using our gifts brings you closer to God. All of the ministers, Pastor Kane can tell you, I've never felt closer to God than when I leave this stage knowing I gave word from God. That is the closest I've ever felt to God. When I say, amen, I love you, you're all dismissed, and I walk off these steps, I feel so close to the Lord. And it's because I used what he gave me. And I know he's up there and he's proud of me. And I might have messed up some of the words. And I might spill this water later. I hope not, but I might. I might trip and fall and you could all laugh at me, but I know somehow God is still proud of me because I'm using what I was given. So you have to remind yourself, if you want to be closer to God, use what you're given. If you got a positive attitude, that's a talent. I can tell you right now, there's not a lot of people who have that. As one of the only people in the room sometimes who can say, I had a good day, apparently, I can tell you it's rare. Because when I walk around my office at work and I say, how are you doing today? Everybody goes, well, I'm okay. I'm all right. I could be better. Or when I'm on the phone with a customer and I say, is there anything else I could do for you? Well, you can give me $1 million. You see, everybody's always got something that's not good enough. But if you've got a positive attitude, the world can use that. You see, that's something that touches people. I can tell you right now, negative people hate positive people. And you know why? Because it changes their perspective. We're all in the same boat here. We might have different abilities and different talents and different financial levels, but we're all just men on the ship watching the waves crash against the water. We're all just men on the ship hoping we find land someday. We're all lost and broken and weary. And if you got a positive attitude, that breaks their perspective all up. Because if you can be happy, why can't they? And many positive people are the ones who've been through quite a bit. I look and I remind myself, I can't remember what channel it was on, but years ago I saw an interview with a family who was in Nigeria. And they were sitting there behind their house and it had been blown over. They had spent many years. Even the 4-year-old son had been putting mud together to get this hut together for their family. And he had done all he could. And when it got up, there was a windstorm and just took it down. And there they are in the rubble. And before they knew it, they had lost everything. What little they had. They were the man with 1 bag of silver. They lost everything they had. But they interviewed them and they said, well, how do you feel right now? And the father said, I just thank God we weren't inside. Had we not have been outside working, we would have died. We were outside working, so when our home fell, all that we lost was a place to live. But I've got my family. And I'm going to lay here with my wife and my son today, and we're going to look up at the stars and remind ourselves how great God is for letting us live through this. And I think about that every time I start to feel a little bad. Every time our AC freezes over at the house and I got to go with a hairdryer and blow it or a knife and chop it up. And I get frustrated and my wife comes down the stairs and she says, Joe, you're waking up the baby. And I go, I don't care because I'm frustrated. I think about that. And it reminds me that there is someone somewhere who wishes they had what I had. And if they had what I had, they would be even happier than I am with it. What I'm getting at here is it's not about what you're not given. It's about what you're given. And so many problems of life that cling on to you can be shaken off if you just regularly use the things God gave you. If you're singing for the Lord, how can hurt hang on to you? How can depression hang on to you when you're touching someone else's life? How can financial breakdown happen in your life? How can it take hold of you when you're using all you got for other people? Every problem that Satan tries to throw at you, it sticks. But guess what? It doesn't stick very good, because all you got to do is use what God gave you, what God made you to be. If you are just that, the devil cannot hold on to you. If you feel the devil on your back, then you better find a way to use your talent. If you feel the devil on your back and you're alone in the shower, well, you better start singing "How Great Is Our God." Doesn't need to be a crowd, and some of you don't need it. I know I don't. There's a reason my wife is the singer in the family. That talent skipped a generation, I think. I'm waiting to see if my children can sing, but right now they're 4, so it's real hard to tell. They're a bit pitchy. What I'm trying to convey here is how important it is for you to find out who you are. What role you play in this world. What role you play in your family. Because when you finally step into that role, you've stepped into the success that God has made for you. The Bible says that he goes about like a good shepherd, and he clears a path for his sheep. And he makes sure there's no danger. He moves thorns. If there's wolves, he shoos them away, sometimes hunting them out of the way. And he says, "The devil, you can't come here." And he clears an empty and straight path for you to walk. All you have to do is step into who you are and use what you are given. And you now have a straight path to success. You see, the shepherd knows where they're going. The sheep does not. But the sheep can use their feet, walk their path. The sheep has a brain enough to know this is the path. To know, hey, that little border collie or German shepherd that's running around there, I should probably follow that. And that's where we are. We're just looking for a path to follow. And the best way to get on the path is to drop to your knees and ask God, who am I meant to be? Drop the idea that you have some sort of gift for your good. Drop the idea that you're going to tell yourself who you're meant to be. Drop the idea of anything else but God, who should I be? Who am I? That's an important question. Every Christian should be able to look at you some point in their life and tell you, I am blank. I am this. I am that. I am what God made me, because we are supposed to step into our path. The reason God gave you an ability isn't for you to use it, it's for other people to see you use it. There are many people who can be inspired by what you have within you. And some of us feel low. And some of us feel like we don't have much. Some of us might even feel like the man with one bag of silver. I beg of you, do not bury your gift. Don't let the dirt of the world rest atop your gift. Use it. Invest it. The scripture here says they invested their silver. Invest your silver in something, in someone. And when he got back and he talked to the servant that dropped it underground, he said, could you at least put it in the bank? So if you're worried about using it and you've got risk, at least use it somehow. At least use it for yourself. At least practice it in your own car. If you think you've got a sermon, practice every day. You don't need a crowd. Just practice, practice, practice. If you feel positive, try to use that to other people. Let me tell you a secret. If you're a positive person, you can try to put that on other people. It's contagious. So try to think of somebody in your life while you're in the car driving who needs your positivity, and walk up to them and ask them how they're doing today. Then when they say, I'm okay, ask why is that? Then when they tell you your problems, tell them something good. Because that's going to stick. You may not know it, but they're going to come home and they're going to make some food for themselves, and they're going to sit down and they're going to start feeling real lonely and real empty, and they're going to hear your positivity in their head, and it's going to make a difference. What I'm getting at is, let's not bury our gifts. Let's not bury our talents. Let's not hoard what we've got. We have got to use what we have every single day. And if what you have exhausts you, then at the end of every day, you will be recuperated with sleep. Use everything you have for God's glory. And if you don't know your gift, I urge you, find it. I know I'm making it sound simple, but that's part of the journey. Watching yourself grow is a part of the journey. Learning what you're not supposed to do is a part of the journey. Just talk to God and ask him. He may not answer right away, but ask him every day until he answers. Ask him over and over and over again. God, who am I? What am I? What should I do? Where do I belong? What role do I play in your kingdom? Because you have to play a role in the kingdom. When I get up to heaven, I want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. And I want to turn around and see a crowd of people that I touch with my gift. And I know each and every one of us in this building want the same. We want to walk up to heaven and see people and say, you touched me, you blessed me, you got me here. That will be the most powerful thing. I can get paid right now for what I'm doing $1 million today, and I would trade it all if I knew that when I got to heaven, somebody said, thank you. Amen. Thank you. I do everything I do to hear a thank you up in heaven. Be it from Jesus, be it from God, or be it from somebody who's waiting at the gates with me. Do everything you do for the benefit and glory of the kingdom, because someday somebody's going to be up there and you're going to rise and you're going to be worried about the gates of heaven, and they're going to come and they're going to tug your shirt and they're going to say, I just want to thank you so much. What you did that day changed my life. There is nothing greater than knowing you are using your gift, because that means there is someone, somewhere, some way that God saved. Your gift isn't for you. God gave you a gift so you can use it, because there's someone who needs your gift. And there's someone who's going to be touched with your gift. God has created and concocted a plan to save all of us. And the only way all of us are saved is we're all doing our part. So if you do your part, you play a role in saving someone's life. And I'm not talking about here on earth. I'm talking about eternal life in heaven. You play your part in introducing them to the greatest thing that has ever happened to them. I can tell you right now, my life post-Jesus is much better than pre-Jesus. There might be more problems. There might be more heartache. But I can tell you this much, I don't care about it anymore. I can turn it over to God. And like I said earlier, I can use my gift and just shake it off. Amen. Just like Tay-Tay sings, shake it off. Shake it off. You hear that song on the radio, do a little shimmy. I don't got rhythm, so I'm not doing it. But somebody here does, and they're going to do it in the car today. They're going to turn on the radio, and inevitably that song is going to play because it's all over the place. Unfortunately, we have a radio that plays the same song 4 times. And you're going to hear it. And you're going to think, shake it off. Shake it off. And you know how you shake it off? Use what you're given. The title of my sermon is Use It. On the count of 3, think of something that you got in your head, and then I'm going to say use it, and I want to hear all of you say use it with me. Use it. Let's try that again. Use it. Use it. Look at somebody and say use it. I don't know what it is, but you better use it. There's something deep within every single one of us, a purpose. When you go to the movies and you watch the Avengers defeat the bad guy, and you leave the theater and you feel like there's something deep within you that feels like you have a power and a destiny just like that. When you watch a show on TV and you see the cops take the bad guys, you watch CSI and you see them convict the criminal, and you feel, man, that's something deep within you, that fire burning, that's God telling you, use it, use it, use it. Get this in your head today. I want you to leave with 2 words. Of everything I said, leave with 2 words. Use it. Use it. Whatever you got in your head, use it. If you got an idea, use it. If you think you got a gift, use it. If you think you are somebody or something or someone, use it. Use it because you need it. The world needs it. The world needs your joy, your positivity, your happiness, your gift, your love, your touch from God. They need it. So you better use it. Fathers, mothers, I can tell you right now, your children need you to use your gift. I wouldn't be on this stage if my grandfather hadn't used his gift and inspired my father to use his gift and inspired me to use my gift, and so on and so forth. And I hope I create a line. Maybe one of my children will step on this stage someday. Maybe not. Maybe they'll be the next president of the United States. I don't know. But what I do today is hopeful to inspire them to use what they've got. I may not be appointed. I may not be anointed from God yet, but I know I'm going to use it. That was my idea when I stepped on the stage at 14. I don't know who I'm going to be, but I'm going to try this. My first sermon, I was 14 years old. Nobody thought I should be up on that stage but God and my Father. And they gave me a chance. Don't look it up. It's not a great sermon. But I used it. And Derek used it. And we rose and used it again and again and again. And eventually it got better. I used to run across the steps like this when I'd preach. And I'd move all over the place. And my dad would say, it was a good sermon, but aren't you tired? They'd have to edit out the footsteps of me like stomping on the ground here. And that's why you use it, because eventually I learned I can lean right here on this guy. And I'm forced to stop moving. Use it, guys, just please. Use it. And if you don't know what it is, find a leader in this church. Find a pastor in this church and ask them to help you get introduced to what you need to do. We'll help you. We'll find a role for you. We'll find a scripture for you. We'll pray for you. We'll do all that we can, because all that matters to us is that we have a people in our church, a mass people in our church who are using their gifts for God. Because our goal is to reach this city, and we can't do it on our own. If I walk outside and I preach this exact sermon, maybe some people will get saved. But if you walk outside and use your gift daily, someone's getting saved. That's why we need to use our gifts, because we are supposed to be down here with a mission. Save as many brothers and sisters as we can. When you see that person on the side of the road asking for money and you give it to them, what you don't realize is you're blessing them spiritually. And you're blessing yourself spiritually. And maybe one day your gift will be enough to see them in heaven. Imagine this. The next time somebody needs you, imagine that you are the last opportunity they have to be introduced to God. Because that may be true. None of us can know when our last opportunity to touch someone is. That's why I urge you to do it. It is so important for fathers, sons and daughters, mothers and brothers and sisters to use their gifts for their family, because you don't know when your last breath will be breathed. You don't know. Your grandfather, your father, your uncle, somebody in your life, this might be the last time they see you. I don't know, I could step off of this stage and this might be the last sermon I preach. And if I'd have said no today, maybe somebody didn't get what they needed to hear. So the next time you're feeling selfish about what you got, I urge you, someone's life depends on it. I can't confirm that if you don't pass them $10 on the street, they're going to starve and die that day. But what I can confirm is God gave you what you needed to touch someone else. And if you don't touch that person, they won't touch the next. And they won't touch the next. And eventually, there's 100 people who didn't get blessed because we sat and buried our gift. So in closing, I have one thing for you. If you don't know what your gift is, if you don't know what your thing is, do something. You can never do wrong in just trying to do something. God is our Father, and as a father today, I can tell you, when my children try, that's all that matters to me. They don't have to succeed. I just have to know they're trying to do good. They're trying to be good people. That's all I care about. They're inevitably going to fail. You're inevitably going to fail. I'm going to fail. It's okay. Use what you've got. And if you don't know what you got, just do something. Just do something. Don't wait around for God to tell you and then jump in and be on fire. Already be on fire. And when God reveals to you what you're supposed to do, do that. But I urge you today, don't wait to hear what your mission is. Just do something today. Seek out your gifts. Find them. Hone them. Perfect them. Make them a craft. Be the best at what you do. Make sure there is nobody around you who can do what you do better. And I promise you, life picks up from here. When the servants, my final statement, when the servants came together and they said, look what I've done, I've earned 5 more. They didn't just get the 10 bags of silver. He said, I have many, many more responsibilities for you now. You have earned more. And just like our Father, when you earn more, there'll be more. If you're worried about not having enough today, use your gifts, invest them, and responsibilities and blessings will come with it.